Hello guys, welcome to Plug and Play. So today we're gonna be reviewing Simgot newest release, Simgot Supermix 5. So let's unpack this and let's take a look what's the inside. Okay. Okay. So the Supermix 5 IM comes in a large purple colored box, as you see. That looks very premium. Out of the box, you will get everything you need, including the IMs. A total 8 pair, I guess. 8 pairs of stock air tips, a cable with a modular jack system. Here you can see. You need to unscrew this. Then you need to pull. So let's take a close up. Here comes with 3.5 modular and 4.4 millimeter modular. Okay. And artificial leather type carrying case. As you can see. Also a silica gel for keeping your IM or accessories out of water. Simgot releases almost all of their IMs in a complete package, and this is noticeable with their new offering. However, since the price is $200 plus, I can expect to get a little more premium accessories, but that doesn't mean I was too disappointed with the stock accessories. In short, the unboxing experience was pretty decent, in my opinion. So let's talk about some specification. So the driver configuration on per side, it has one bone conduction driver, one dynamic driver, two balanced armature driver, and one microplanet driver. So one bone conduction, one dynamic driver, two balanced armature, and one microplanet driver on each side. Okay. So that dynamic driver is specially crafted DLC, flexible, surrounded, low frequency driver. And the impedance is 19 ohm plus minus 15% at 1 kilohertz. And the sensitivity is around 120 decibel per VRMS. The frequency response ranging from 8 Hz to 40 kHz. And the connector it comes with is 0.78 millimeter 2-pin. And the housing process is high precision resin 3D printed shell. The cable material is leads structured high purity silver plated single crystal copper cable. And the plug type, as you can see, modular 3.5 millimeter and 4.4 millimeter. So the Supermix 5 is a set of 19 ohm impedance whose sensitivity level is 120 decibel. Practically, it doesn't require very powerful amplification to get optimum sound from here. I got decent performance from cheaper 3.5 millimeter dongles, but if a good quality deck amp or portable player is used, then it gets a good scaled up with the sources, warmish neutral, and become better sounding. So keep in mind on that. So let's talk about design, build quality, and comfort. So at first glance, its overall design and appearance may seem a little weird to many. The SM5 shells have a different look that offers high quality resin, even printed materials, also metallic faceplate, with a logo that reflects the branding of Supermix series. It provides a contemporary design that gives unique character without any kind of gimmicky vibe. Being fully resin built, this set was quite lightweight, but Simgot did not compromise on quality, which is definitely a good thing. I have to say that I did not face any discomfort issue while using it in my daily life. Compared to its other antagonist, the SM5 nozzle is larger and thicker in both width and height-wise. Let's take a look at nozzle. It is very thick. Also, the height is very moderate to large, I would say. And it's worth noting that the shell size is also quite large, as it has 5 internal driver setups. The reflection of the internal driver is partially visible in the smoky appearance of the black color semi-transparent resin shell, and yet it's clear that Simgot has thought very well about the ergonomics of their Supermix shell. The width of the main IM unit has increased slightly, but most of its original shape has been fairly maintained in its correct size. As a result, in a good fit and comfort in almost everyone's ear, but folks with smaller ear canal may complain about some fit issues. It's good in the comfort department, and I was expecting a little better sound isolation, but using third-party soft silicone ear tips instead of the stock ear tips, it gives slightly better results. I benefited from using Dunu candy tips throughout my usage. As for the cable, it is made from a thinner than usual silver-plated oxygen-free copper cable. It also provides a modular jack system connector that offers an advantage for single end as well as 4.4mm balance jack attaching option, which is good thing as a stock cable, but the cable course will be considered thinner and softer. The cable looks reminiscent of Simgot's premium LC7, but it isn't at the same level as that. So let's talk about the sound aspect. On paper, the Simgot Supermix 5 is designed with the Harman target in mind, but I haven't noticed any exceptions here, as the actual sound quality and presentation are usually accepted from a balanced U-shaped target. The Supermix 5 is clearly a Harman-inspired set, but there is a welcoming factor in its sound. Many will argue with me that initially the sound isn't in the line with their preference, but rather a bit disappointing, which is true in a way, because to bring out the fullest potential of this IM, you have to focus on 3 things, namely tip rolling, source matching, and completing at least 50-hour burning process. In this case, I would like to clarify one thing, that I have not used its predecessor Supermix 4, so I'm not sure how much of an upgrade Simgot has brought to their SM5. I want to set the SM5 apart from the other Chi-Fi brands offering on the current market for its technical ability. Many may disagree and say that it is normal for a set with multiple driver configurations. I would like to say that yes, the idea is normal, but when you get quality amping power, the richness of its sound becomes a little more better. However, the effect of bone conduction driver doesn't seem to be as prominent as I expected. This doesn't mean that it does not play any important role in the sound aspect. What I meant here is that it doesn't bring much improvement in particular, as bone conducting driver does. I haven't seen any tendency to make something ears heavy by bringing a lot of thumbie or rumbly bass, which everyone considers to be strength of the bone conduction driver. However, it can be said that everything is presented here in a fairly coherent manner. The Supermix 5 basically an well U-shaped tuned that comes with a 5-driver setup. It has 1 DD, 1 bone conduction, 2 balanced armature, and 1 microplanar driver as a driver setup which handles its entire sound frequency. Simgot claims here that the bone conduction driver plays a leading role in enriching mids and bass quality. I think their demands are fairly reasonable, and the bone conduction driver is somewhat of a versatile character. Now moving on to the in-depth discussion of sound performance based on real-life experience. It has an internal 8mm DLC driver, which is basically used as a bass driver. The driver improves bass reproduction and at the same time is very impactful and responsive, which makes this set exceptional compared to many of its competitors. I was quite surprised to see the speed and control of the bass in the Simgot 5, where the bass borderline has been thickened quite a bit with upbeat mid-bass presence without sacrificing sub-bass rumble impact. Some of the contributions from the bone conduction driver have had an exceptional effect on the bass section, which is dynamism and density. However, while the clarity of the notes is decent, the definition seems weaker to me, where the texture and quite okay type authenticity has been maintained in the instruments in a moderate way, but extension was on the good side, I would say. It is worth mentioning here that the bone conduction driver has contributed somewhat to enriching the bass delivery of the dynamic driver with decent bass attack, but the decay isn't that long. In my opinion, Simgot has taken steps to keep the bass bleeding under control here and maintain a fair balance. The bone conduction drivers have the most impact in the mid-range section, I would say. I'm not judging it by the frequency graph. The Simgot 5 showed its typical Harman curve behavior in the mids section. The upper mids are naturally a bit more forward, and the lower mids region is somewhat on the thinner side. It's true that many people don't like very forward mids, and the main reason is that sometimes the source pairing enhances the forwardness further, which is not acceptable to everyone. Apart from that, the difference and layering of the vocals and instruments was good, and the most important thing is the Supermix 5 has shown the capability to represent the texture of the artist's vocal well here, which isn't something to complain about. I saw a smooth transition from the lower to upper mids region, where the bone conduction driver has an effect, but the body of the male vocal seemed slightly lean in my cases, and where there was a lack of fullness due to lack of warmth in the lower mid section. On the other hand, I did not face such a problem in the case of female vocals here, which was quite good, but in some perspectives, occasional sibilance may actually come out that I have mentioned for the convenience of knowing. Simply put, the Simgot Supermix 5's mid-range presentation can be a hit or miss type for many. So let's talk about the treble section. The treble section of the Simgot 5 is neither too extended nor dull, but somewhere in between. The treble reproduction of the microplanar driver doesn't offer much of an existing result here, but I won't say it's very disappointing. The sound timbre here is definitely not as smooth and coherent as single dynamic driver or all BA driver setups, but there is minimal planar glare, which gives the treble sparkle a somewhat vibrant touch. Upper register here is generally limited to 8 to 9000 Hz if we talk about row of issue, although cymbals, hi-hats and string overtones come through fluently without being harsh or very muted way. Its 5 kHz region was very controlled, but there is a minimal peak around 7 to 8 kHz, which lends some air and sparkle, but in a very limited range. This set may not be ideal for those who are treble heads, but I think all folks who don't like more detailed treble will be able to satisfy its kind of treble. In terms of technicalities, the Supermix 5 has admirable traits, especially its sound stage is much wider. If you compare it to other hybrid or quad-bit driver IMs in similar price categories, then this set will be the winner without a doubt. Nevertheless, due to the very wide sound stage, the compromises have to be made in terms of depth and width, as a result of which the actual depth of the instrument remains in the shortcomings and the note weight and edge are deprived of being rounded sharply. Besides, it can show excellent imaging capability when giving a good quality amping power. This set has ability to prove razor sharp imaging with stereo presentation of left and right channels. Micro detail rendering was also better than micro detail, and sound tonality and timbre accuracy was not more accurate, but I did not encounter too many coherence issues here. So let's talk about the pros. So it is lightweight yet high quality printed resin shell construction with metallic faceplate design, decent comfort and sound isolation, fairly well balanced U-shaped tuning with good clarity and detail retrieval, strong sub-bass extension for bone conduction driver implementation, clean, crisp and very detailed treble section, impressive sound stage, sound height imaging and good separation due to advantage of multiple driver setup, slightly warmish mid-forward sound presentation. So let's talk about the cons here. The cons: slightly lean mid-range body. Male vocals suffer from the lack of fullness. Treble may be a little more energetic for longer listening, not very suitable for sensitive falls. Congested dynamics and microdynamics presentation, not the most clean bass definition and texture. Also, the impact of the bone conduction driver has been noticed minimally. Subjective, that was pure subjective opinion. Highly source sensitive and air tips depend on temperament. Mediocre sound stage depth and width. Comparison. So let's talk about comparison with Tangerine Soda. So here's the Tangerine Soda, as you can see, and Supermix 5. So Tangerine Soda and Simgot Supermix 5 are sports with a balanced U-shaped target response, where they achieve this in two different ways through their driver setups. Soda follows their own legacy of 1 dynamic and 4 balanced armature, but this time they added 2 passive drivers, while Supermix 5 enters the hybrid setup with 1 dynamic driver, 2 BS setup, 1 microplaner and 1 bone conduction to handle its overall sound performance. Soda's sound section is more sub-bass focused and the rumble reaches much deeper, but it still has the ability to create a clean environment in the low end. The mid-bass region is rolled off for Soda, so it can be said that punchiness is not affected. The Simgot 5 also offers good amount of sub-bass extension with decent mid-bass presence, where overall bass has a more controlled, still tighter impact compared to Soda. It is worth mentioning here that the Simgot 5 has a lead in the mid-bass region over the rest of the competition due to its bone conduction driver setup. In mid-range tonality, they both retain the Harman's characteristics, but Soda has boosted up the upper mix a bit more while fostering extra vocal clarity. So pushing more energy in the 3 to 5 kHz region has made it a bit shouty, and that is what makes female vocal execute in some cases. Simgot 5 sports for clean and forward mid-range projection and has been able to keep more about dimensionality and body intact due to its bone conduction driver. Soda treble is controlled and more detailed than Supermix. The treble that Supermix can deliver with the mediocre level capability of the microplaner driver will not be that far ahead here because the extension and air, where Soda has advantage at the top end due to its dual balanced armature setup. The Supermix 5 is more prominent in detail and micro-detailing rendering, as well as huge stage and precise imaging, but both of them are lacking in stage depth, which can be a bit more case of Soda. tonality and timbre are not the best of any of them, but the Soda's BA timbre is more annoying to me. Here I will personally put the Simgot 5 ahead in price to performance ratio. So let's compare it to other IM called Open Audio Siren. So here you can see Open Audio Siren. The Supermix 5 and the Siren use completely different ways to driver setup. When you look at their configuration, the one dynamic driver plus two balanced armature design of the Siren. On the contrary, you will find the Supermix 5 has a lot more going on. It has an 8mm dynamic DLC dynamic driver, two balanced armature, one microplanar for the upper treble, and a bone conduction driver to help the more resolute sound characteristics. In terms of sound quality, the Siren offers a mid-centric presentation where vocals clarity was better compared to SM5, especially female vocal sounds seemed more realistic. A common thing in Harman or V-shaped tuning is the lower mid recession, which is clearly evident in the Siren. Because the male vocal hair is quite recessed and the timbre of the instrument hair is dry, while the Supermix 5 is in a better position with its clean and more forward mid-range tonality, where it has good clarity as well as maintaining vocal texture and has introduced a very ideal Harman tuned. So the Siren has mild sub-bass boost and mid-bass roll-off issue in bass section, but Supermix 5 covers bass frequency pretty well, and I would say it performs better than Siren. Siren can be described as detailed in treble section with good extension, although it drops off sharply after 8 kHz. That's why it sports more on thinner side. Simgot Supermix 5 treble is not highly detailed but not muted. At least it was fairly mature and less clinical, despite less mean detail retrieval than Siren. Technically, Supermix is more capable for huge staging and precise imaging and some more microdynamics presentation. Timbrely, neither of them accurate, but Siren's BA timbre is quite noticeable, and I would trust it behind the competition for sound tonality and thinner note weight, also inaccurate sound timbre on Siren. So in conclusion, the Supermix 5 represents a bold advantage for Simgot in contrast to the brand's earlier designs, which were characterized by a vibrant and exuberant sound signature. This IM has more neutral sound with slight V-shape or rather U-shape to the response, augmented with a well-engineered bone conduction driver. Its fast tactile bass response is incisive but well-controlled vocals and impressive soundstage width make it appropriate for a variety of musical genre, including gaming. Additionally, it generates musical energy without sounding harsh, provides clarity without sounding shouty, and delivers excitement without strong bass emphasis. For certain types of listeners, those who value staging and something slightly different from the mainstream, this Simgot Supermix 5 is one of the best and most refined products Simgot has ever produced in this price category, $200 mark, or between $200 and $300 mark. So that's it's for today. So I hope you guys have a good information about Supermix 5. So that's it for today. Thank you.